It is very, very important that you bring money with you to Australia. Honestly, this is a tough one. I personally found a job on each of one of these websites. Do not underestimate the vastness of this continent. There might be fires, but this is literally worst case. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel and my first video of my series of work and travel. This series will include 5 videos covering everything about work and travel, so stay tuned, I will get into that a little bit later. In this video I will run you through 6 topics that I consider very important before you start your work and travel adventure, so let's get into it. First of all, if you're new here, I'm Sarah, I'm 30 years old and I did the full 3 years working travel in Australia. So in the year of 2023, I did my 88 days of farm work, and in my second year, I did the 179 days of farm work, and now my 3 years are over. My working travel visa ended 2 days ago, and that's very exciting because now I'm actually on a bridging visa. I'm waiting for the approval for my partner visa, so I will be staying in Australia. I literally did everything you can imagine. I've traveled, I've done all the farm work, I've been fooled, I got scammed, and that's what we're going to talk about as well today. So let's get into the video. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is money, since this is a very, very important one if you come to Australia. This is why this is the number one in this video, because it is very, very important that you bring money with you to Australia. Australia is very, very expensive. And I know us Germans, we don't like to talk about money, but I reckon we should break the cycle since this is very, very important to know. I've seen a lot of people coming with very little money to Australia, and this is really not a good idea. I know that the Australian government is asking you to bring around $5,000 to Australia when you first come here if you do not have a return flight. This is a really good idea. I would recommend still bring a little bit more, bring a bit of a puffer. You never know when you're going to find your first job. This might be in a few weeks, it might take a few months. So just bring a little bit of savings so you are secure. Because the last thing you want to do is arrive, you realize how expensive Australia is, and then you run out of your savings within just a few weeks, and then you have to fly back home because you don't even have the time to find a job and pay for your bills. Basically everything from accommodation, transport, just getting around, food, literally just to breathe and exist will cost you money. Be prepared for that. Just do a little bit of research before you arrive. This will help you a lot. There are a lot of ways to save money in this country. I personally managed to save $10,000 in just a little over 6 months while I was on a working holiday visa, and it wasn't a high-paying job either. I was on $28 an hour. But this is a topic we will talk about in video 4 of this series, so stay tuned for that. Second, jobs. Honestly, this is a tough one because the experiences from people are just as different as people are, and my experiences are really mixed as well. I had 13 jobs in only 2 years, and there were good ones and there were bad ones. They were mainly good, but I just give you a little insight of the bad ones so you have an understanding how things can run here. So in March 2023, I found my first job in Perth, and I wanted to do my farm work, my 88 days. The whole 88 days that I was working for this guy, I thought that I was doing official farm work because he told me so. Well, it turned out I wasn't doing any farm work. I was just a laborer for his vineyard. So he basically lied to me the whole time. But this was my fault as well because I did not do the research. I just believed what he said, and this was my problem and my fault as well. So do your own research and don't trust anyone until you know it better. Here I'm going to list you my favorite job websites. They are available as apps as well. I would recommend you to just have a look through all of them. Sometimes you will see a job is on every platform, or sometimes you just find this one job on this little platform and that might be your job. I personally found a job on each of one of these websites, so I can't really say this one website will give you the best job. But I do had a good experience with Backpacker Job Board. This is the most common website, I would say. Also, actually, Facebook groups, it's always worth it to just have a look through it. I know Europeans are not really using Facebook anymore, but Australians do. So I would really recommend you checking that out. So here are a few things to consider as well. Before you start your farm work, I would recommend you checking out if that the postcode where the farm is located is eligible for farm work. This is a really easy check online from the Australian government. I will list it in the description so you can just check that out. If they tell you this job will qualify for farm work, but the postcode is not listed on that website, then it's not. When you have the job, make sure you're getting paid under the right award. This is another website I will link in the description. It's really easy to just check it out. There are a lot of backpackers that are not getting paid right just because they don't know it better. All right, so you have the job. Now try and keep it. I personally saw a lot of backpackers coming for a day or two and then they just disappeared. This happens a lot. It's pretty normal. But if you have a feeling that the job might be a bit too hard or it is just not for you, just consider not coming at all because it's gonna save a lot of time and effort on both sides. Something I really want to highlight as well is if you're putting in the hard work and you show up, this is mainly not unseen. Sometimes it is, but you will get rewarded for hard work. This happened to me multiple times, so I really recommend if you enjoy the job or you might want to stay longer at that job, just do the hard work, because what happened to me is I was doing a good job and I've tried really hard, even though a few things I never did, but I always tried my best and I always got rewarded with more hours than everyone else, or they even gave me more days of work, which was really good. Or you might even take on another role. This happened to me as well. So for example, if the blueberry season stopped, but they consider you as a good worker, they might keep you at the farm for another job. So you can still do your farm work even though the season is over. So it's really worth to put in the hard work, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like it. And I get that, because at some places it is not worth it because the people are not treating you well. If you think those people are nice and they do see that I'm working hard, just keep doing what you're doing and you will get rewarded. I already made a very detailed video about this topic of finding jobs in Australia. So if you speak German, you might want to check that out. If you don't, maybe consider turning on the subtitles, or maybe just leave me a comment and I might consider doing it in English again. Number 3, distances. Do not underestimate the vastness of this continent, please. Be prepared to travel long distances, whatever you're gonna do. You travel by bus, you travel by car, by train, it will be a long distance and you will not be used to it. Don't just look at a map and think, oh, this doesn't look far, I'm just gonna drive there. Please check the distances before you go. They might be very far away. If I look at a map in Germany and I'll be thinking, oh, this doesn't look far, it might be 100 kilometers. If you do the same in Australia, you look at Google Maps, you might think, this might be 200 kilometers. Well, turns out it's 1,000 kilometers. Sydney to Cairns, over 2,000 kilometers. Sydney Melbourne, over 800 kilometers. Sydney Perth, 4,000 kilometers. So as you might already figured out, all the big cities are very far away from each other. This continent is big. So if you do plan to travel, especially with your own car, make sure it's a reliable car. Tell people where you want to go and keep in mind you will sit a lot in your car just driving. Also, please make sure you have enough fuel, food and water with you. And as I already said, tell people where you're heading to. So if you get lost for whatever reasons, people know where to find you. People are getting lost very easily in Australia. It happens all the time. There have been missing backpackers in the past, so we can learn from those cases as well. So if you are in a remote area, you don't have service, make sure you stay with your car, especially if you have enough food and water and you could easily sit there for a week. It is way easier to find a car than it is to find a human. And please also be aware, there are a lot of places where you don't have reception in Australia, especially when you leave the East Coast. The East Coast is a completely different story. The infrastructure is relatively good on the East Coast, but as soon as you head west, everything is gonna change. So make sure fuel, water, food, and tell people where you're heading to, and then you're basically good to go. All right, another thing that I notice a lot of people don't know is the differences of states. Did you know that Australia has different climate zones? We are talking rainy and dry season. Generally speaking, everything that's above the middle has a rainy and dry season. Everything that's below the middle, so let's say below Brisbane, has 4 seasons. So you have a hot summer, a mild winter, but there's also autumn and spring, just like you might know from back home. If you like to work in Cairns or Broome, you want to be there before the season starts to save you accommodation and jobs. If you arrive there after the season started, you won't find a job and you won't find accommodation. It might be also not as much fun to spend the summer in Cairns or Broome, since it's gonna rain pretty much every single day. So maybe consider to go to Sydney or Melbourne or Adelaide during the summer months, because it's gonna be pretty warm. But you can also still travel a lot because it's not gonna be flooded everywhere. There might be fires, you need to be aware of that as well, but in the cities that's not really the case anyways. But you will definitely have a good time below the middle in the summer months. So definitely make sure you check out the climate zones before you head anywhere. Solo travel as a woman, number 5. Australia is generally considered a very safe country for women, and I definitely agree with that. But there are still some things you need to know. First of all, again, make sure you tell people where you're heading to. So if you're missing for some reason, they know where to look for you. There was a missing backpacker case from a German girl just a few months ago here in Australia, in Western Australia. And the reason why they couldn't find her, I think it was 12 days, is because no one knew where to look for her. They found her car after a few days, but she wasn't there. So again, if you might end up in a situation like that and you have enough water and you have enough food, stay with your car. It is easier to find a car than it is to find a human. But this is literally worst case. For myself, I never felt uneasy in Australia, not even in the bigger cities. I feel way safer here than I do back home in Germany. I still wouldn't recommend you just walking around the city at nighttime. This is not really something I would recommend anywhere in the world for a woman, and you probably don't do that anyways. I've traveled a lot by myself in Australia. I did a solo outback trip in Queensland, for example. Never had any problems whatsoever. As I said, in the bigger cities, I never felt uneasy or unsafe, and I find it very easy to travel by myself in Australia. Aussies are very, very helpful. So if you ever run into problems, there will be normally always someone that's gonna help you and is also happy to help you, especially if you're by yourself. You obviously always have to be careful speaking between women and women. I think we already know that. But my experience is definitely that Aussies are, as I said, very helpful, and they will always look after you. If you do not feel safe for whatever reasons, it's very easy to connect with other backpackers, no matter if it's on Facebook groups or just in your hostel, or maybe even on a campground if you travel in your car by yourself. There are so many different options to not travel by yourself if you don't feel like it. I personally really enjoy traveling by myself, but I also did a few trips with other people that I really enjoyed as well. So there are so many options, you just need to choose. Last but not least, number 6, don't get scammed. It is very, very easy to get fooled as a backpacker in Australia. We are mainly young people with little to no experience in anything. There will be people who are taking advantage of that. I've already noticed most Aussies are very helpful and they will always lend you a hand. And I definitely mean that. But there will be always people who will take advantage of your situation no matter what you do. Whether it is buying a car or just working as an employee or trying to find accommodation, I heard so many bad stories from other backpackers over the years. And the only way to avoid this is to know it better. Just simply talk to other backpackers, share your experiences, ask for tips and tricks. There will be always people who already did a mistake, including me. I did a lot of mistakes. I'm very sure that there will be people who are happy to help you. And as I already said, I will link some websites in the description so you can first check your award so you know you're actually getting paid right. And also, for example, for farm work, check your postcode so you know you're actually doing official farm work. And honestly, sometimes it's just bad luck. You can't do anything. Some things just happen. That's not in your hand. Everyone will make some experiences that are a bit unfortunate, but that's just life. But this is also something that I'm going to cover in another video. This will be the last video of the series, the dark side of work and travel, because I feel like we need to talk about these things. I heard a lot of bad things lately and I feel like we need to cover this. So yeah, definitely make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on that one as well. All right, now that we've covered that, I just want to tell you that the last 3 years has been the most amazing time of my life, something I will definitely never forget. And I'm so happy to call Australia my home now. And I'm so excited for the future. And I'm very sure this will be the time of your life as well. Something that will always stick to you. You will learn so much about yourself. You will grow every single day. You will do things you never thought you would do. Really hope everyone that is out there and is already doing work and travel that you have an amazing time. And if you consider doing work and travel, honestly, just come and do it. You won't regret it, even though you might just want to stay a few months. It's going to be the best time of your life. You might have heard that there are some changes coming as well. There's apparently an agreement between Europe and Australia, which will make it way easier to come to Australia and for Australians going to Europe. What that means is basically it might become easier to stay in Australia for us, which is great news. You might not even have to do any farm work anymore, which will be great because this would just take out a lot of pressure on young people to try and stay longer in Australia. I know how stressful it can be to find farm work so you can stay longer in Australia. I was personally very stressed during that time, so it'd be great to see that you don't have to do that anymore. If you would like to see a video about that, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to make a full video about that because I think it might be very interesting for a lot of people. I just want to quickly run you through the next videos that I will post that will be a part of the work and travel series. So you've just watched the first one. The second video will be about how to prepare for your work and travel. The third one will be about how to pack for work and travel. The fourth one will be about how to go from broke to saving $10,000 in Australia as a backpacker. Last but not least, number 5 will be about the dark side of work and travel in Australia. I will upload these videos every Sunday at 9 a.m. If you're still here, maybe just leave me a comment about your experience in Australia. I find that very interesting. I've been talking to a lot of people over the past 3 years, as you can imagine. I just remember how excited I was 3 years ago to first come here and do my working holiday visa. It was the best thing I ever did and I wouldn't change a single thing, and I hope the same goes for you. I hope you have a good experience and do whatever you want to do and be free. Wherever you are, stay safe and have a great time doing your working travel, and I will see you in my next video.